Touchdown BC is sponsored by
the Robertson Braun Group, Remax Kelowna. Thinking real estate in Kelowna? Think Blake Robertson, Marlene Braun. For more information, call 250-212-2888 or 250-878-5242.
Touchdown BC is also sponsored by Subway and the Subway Bowl. The Subway Bowl hosts and supports the BC High School Football Championships and amateur football around the province.
Welcome to Touchdown BC, episode 13. Halloween has passed, but we had some great football that was played this weekend in BC high school football, community football, and UBC was in tough against Calgary last game of the season.
Yeah, you know, UBC must-win game, but sometimes things have a way of working themselves out.
And also, there was the Cullen Cup. A BC FC champion was crowned. We'll get into all that and more coming up on TDBC. Time to get in the action. This past weekend, the West Shore Rebels played the Okanagan Sun for the Cullen Cup. These two teams split the season series with one win apiece in the regular season, so we all knew that this was going to be a battle. So who won and will move on as BCFC champions and represent the BCFC in the Canadian Bowl? Let's find out right now.
Rebels score first. It's who else? Jamel Lyles doing his thing all the way to the end zone for the major to give West Shore a 7-0 early lead. Still in the first, Suns QB Foster Martins is stripped. Rebels all-star Kent Hicks picks it up, and look at this guy run with it. He does not want to be brought down. He returns it near the goal line, which leads to a Kyle Clark field goal. Rebels up 10-0 now. Now in the second, QB Ashton McKinnon looking deep, gets rid of it right in the arms of Tyvon Blake for the 39-yard major. West Shore dominated early. Still in the second, it's the Rebels defense that makes the play. Martins is picked off by fifth-year man Brody Uddenberg. That leads to Money Mac hitting Baranu Gitna on the slant for another touchdown, 25-0 Rebels. More from the Rebels defense. Martins looking for his target, but it's picked off, this time by Ghislaine Macombo. Everything is coming up Rebels. Early third, McKinnon gets his third passing touchdown of the game, this time to Trey Campbell. And this is not a lie. West Shore is up 32-0 at this point. Suns offense wakes up. In the third, Kelton Curry with the carry, finds a seam to run through and takes off. Uses his speed, taking the rock all the way down to the 1-yard line. Next play, Keith Zyla takes it in himself on the QB keeper. 32-7 now. Suns not down there. Still in the third, Zyla rolls out and finds Shamar Donaldson open in the end zone for the TD. In the fourth, the Sun get another one. Kyler Mosley powering his way in for the major, 32-21 Rebels. The Sun, though, could not complete the comeback. Final seconds of the game, Zyla completes the pass, but it's too little too late. The West Shore Rebels are your BCFC champs, defeating the Okanagan Sun 32-21 in the Cullen Cup. This is the second time the Rebels organization has won the BCFC championship. The Rebels will move on to the Canadian Bowl and represent the BCFC against the Saskatoon Hilltops in the national championship. What a story. The Rebels 2-8 last year and now just one win away from becoming national champs. The Canadian Bowl will take place at home of the West Shore Rebels, West Hill Stadium on November 12th. Kickoff at 1 p.m. The Saskatoon Hilltops have won the Canadian Bowl the last 2 years, but the Rebels will have something to say about that. Everyone here at TDBC will be rooting for the Rebels. Hey, this ain't TDPFC, this is TDBC.
It was UBC's last home game of the season against one of their most bitter rivals, the Calgary Dinos. Now, while the game was pretty much a do or die for the UBC Thunderbirds, if they lost, they'd have to spend the rest of the evening looking at the scoreboards.
Thunderbirds taking on the Dinos in UBC's last home game of the season. Dinos get off to the races first with Bryce Harper running in untouched. UBC's time to turn it around. Thunderbirds march downfield before Michael O'Connor rolls out right and finds his boy Will Watson, who sneaks in for the score. Second cue, UBC lined up in a 4-receiver set on second and long, and this time it's a Swiss Army knife Travell Pinto burning his man to put the Birds up 7. Calgary would add a field goal before this bomb from Michael O'Connor, finding Pinto once again, who makes it a difficult catch against some aggressive pass interference, but it wouldn't matter for number 1. Fast forward to the fourth quarter now, Dinos trailing by 6. Adam Sinagra looks deep and finds Austin Hartley in the corner in tight coverage, but somehow Hartley holds on to it. Dinos up by 1. Mid-4th, UBC enabled a big play, and they get it. O'Connor finds Ben Cummings on a quick slant, and he's got some space to the outside. And look at the Jets on this guy. Literally makes a couple Dinos defenders crash into each other and makes the rest look foolish. 74-yard bomb by the T-Birds. Cummings coming up clutch. UBC got a 2-point conversion, so Calgary trails by 7, and you can never really count the Dinos out. Somehow Michael Klukas is completely free and he connects to tie this ball game up late in the 4th. To overtime we go. Dinos march downfield, and it's Bryce Harper, whose name seems to be synonymous with epic performances in every sport. Tough loss for the Thunderbirds in the last home game of the 2016 season. Despite the loss, Michael O'Connor played his heart out with 335 yards and 4 touchdowns. Calgary's Bryce Harper had 145 yards on the ground and 3 rushing TDs, while Ben Cummings accrued a whopping 258 all-purpose yards and a touchdown of his own. Luckily for the Thunderbirds, due to a tiebreaker with Manitoba after the Bison's loss on the weekend, they still advance to the Can West Hardy Cup semifinals. UBC takes on Regina at Mosaic Stadium at 1:30 Pacific Time this Saturday, November 5th.
Welcome to the UBC Report. Joining me in studio is Mr. Jim Mullen. Jim, the Birds didn't get the result they wanted, but they still made it.
Yeah, this might be our second to last UBC report of the year at this rate. They went into overtime versus the University of Calgary. The game should have never got to that stage, quite frankly. They were up by 13 at the half against the Calgary team running a rookie starting quarterback. They had a number of their pieces back, the Calgary Dinos did. Even though they'd gone through some injury problems, their lineup was all of a sudden almost right back to normal. So obviously with the media, they'd been playing some sandbagging before the game because they wanted to take Blake Nill a little off guard with their roster status. But, you know, I think the thing that's missing for the UBC Thunderbirds last year, this year in comparison to last year, it is an offense. Michael O'Connor finishes the season as the number 3 quarterback in the CIS numbers-wise, right behind Derek Wendell and Noah Picton. Defense, there are some challenges, but the defense has come around enough in some cases that they should be able to win games with a potent offense. The thing that really has not stood out this year has been special teams, and special teams cost them in this game. There was a key fumble in the second half by Will Watson, who had a pretty good day receiving, but if Marcus Davis is back there, he's able to turn games around. They missed Quinn Van Gilswyk at kicker, and you take that element out. The number 1 special teams team right across the board last year in the CIS, they're middling to low now in that category, and in the 3-down game, that'll kill you.
You know what, Jim? It's totally true. This could very well be our second last UBC report. But moving on, the UBC Thunderbirds will be playing the Regina Rams. And as you said, the defense hasn't been strong at all. What is it going to take so they don't get picked apart? I don't know if you noticed that pun there. So they don't get picked apart against Regina.
Yeah, picked apart by Picton and Picton. There's 2 Pictons there that can pick you apart. Pick a pack of pickled peppers, I guess. Noah Picton, for those of you who don't know, just set the CIS record for passing yards in a season. 3,178, I think. He broke Andrew Buckley's record that was set last year, and a lot of people didn't think that record would be broken for a number of years. He averaged 396.8 yards per game, which is just absolutely phenomenal. And when he played against UBC in the last game, he added up some pretty big numbers as well. So the key for the UBC defense, know your assignments. Travell Pinto, as great as he's been all through this year, busted on a assignment that led to a Calgary touchdown in the second half. So know what you're doing out there. Find a way to shut down a guy like Mitchell Picton, who can catch so well over the middle. Really, what the Calgary Dinos did, they kept the game easy for their quarterback, Adam Sinagra, by throwing to the outside, not throwing into danger zones. Noah Picton, he's way more courageous as a quarterback. He'll throw right up the seam. He'll throw into a window about this big and try to find his receiver. It's going to be tough for them defensively. Offensively, just finish some drives. They didn't do it in their first game against Regina, which was the big homecoming game, the 20-10 loss, and they didn't finish key drives against Regina when they were out there the last time. If they can finish a couple of drives and find the end zone and be more consistent in the red zone, they've got a chance against the Rams. Just because they're a 3-5 team doesn't mean that they're out of it yet.
It's true, and Michael O'Connor's going to have a big day. It could be a shootout, who knows. But Jim, give me a little rundown about how you think the Can West is going to pan out from here on in.
Well, I wouldn't count the UBC Thunderbirds out just yet. The football gods have been mighty kind to the Regina Rams in a number of games that have come down to the last minute where the dime has fallen in their direction in every occasion except one, which was the opening game of the season against the Saskatchewan Huskies, and then they just fumbled the ball away against Alberta a couple of weeks back for their other loss. I still see Regina finding a way at home in front of probably a half-decent crowd at Mosaic. Now, the real test is trying to guess what's going to happen in the Calgary-Saskatchewan game that will be played at McMahon Stadium. And the last time those two teams got together 2 weeks ago, the Saskatchewan Huskies won, and the score wasn't really indicative of the play. The Huskies left the door open for a couple of extra points at the end. Saskatchewan really did a good job of physically asserting themselves at the line of scrimmage, and not many teams can say that when it comes to playing the Calgary Dinos. But I really feel that Calgary, with some of the momentum coming off this game against UBC, probably at home finds a way to win by 1 or 2 points in this game. And then you're looking at a Regina-Calgary final, and that game, when those two teams got together, basically came down to the last play of the game where Jimmy Underdahl was running towards the end zone. He was 1 yard out, and boom, Joey Dwyer pops the ball free, and the Regina Rams are in first place. So that's how close the Canada West has been this year. A 1-point win for Calgary and Saskatchewan, 3 points for Saskatchewan and Calgary, one play between Calgary and Regina, and UBC about 3 plays away against nearly all of those teams. So it's a tough one to call. I was looking at some of my predictions at the start of the year. I was with a lot of people on this. We all had Regina either at 2-6 or 1-7. So that tells you how much we know.
Yeah, fair enough. That's your hot take with Jim Mullen, and hopefully it's not the second last UBC report of the year.
Time now for the Subway High School Football Report. This past weekend across the province, teams buckled up their chin straps to play their second last regular season game. In each conference in AAA and AA, the standings are very close heading to the finish line. Each game that was played this weekend had major playoff implications, and you could tell with the way they played on the field. Let's get right into it.
Mount Bougeri taking on STM from the get-go. Colby Bolshevik fakes a couple handoffs, rolls out and finds a streaking Devin Hayak, who makes a nice grab and gets tackled down at the 1. Very next play under center, the Knights run it in and get on the board first to go up 7-0. Later in the first, STM driving downfield, and Bolshevik finds Connor Hayak up the gut, and he is taken down at the 3-yard line. After that, Bolshevik takes this one himself as he dives in for the score. Knights up 14-0. Second quarter now, Knights still in control. This time it's Tyler Eckert getting in on the action, and he makes it look oh so easy. STM up 21-0 at the half. To the third now, and Bolshevik finds one of his favorite targets, Devin Hayak, who finds Pater this time. But the Knights did not plan on taking it easy on the Bears by any means. Bolshevik rolls out and finds Devin Hayak once again, but once again he gets stuffed at the goal line. But hey, what does Colby care, right? Bolshevik dives in for the second QB sneak TD of the evening. Fourth Q now, and STM continues the aerial assault. This time, Bolshevik goes over the top to find Josh Wilson, who manages to hold on and join the TD party. And that would be that. STM has their way with Mount Bougeri 44-0. Now here are the rest of the scores from the Eastern Conference. WJ Mowat beats Mission 38-7. Terry Fox continues to roll with a win over Lord Tweedsmuir 40-6. And Centennial takes care of Kelowna 39-7. Now here's a look at the standings heading into the last week of conference play. Terry Fox has locked up the first seed in the conference and a first-round bye. Centennial sits in second with 5 wins. Lord Tweedsmuir in third, and STM and WJ Mowat are tied for the 4th seed. To the West scores we go. South Delta hands Mount Doug its second loss in a row, beating the Rams 36-13. Notre Dame beats Carson Graham 24-14. And New West takes care of Belmont 34-21. The standings look like so in the West. Notre Dame and New West are tied for the top spot, with Vancouver College, South Delta, and Mount Doug 1 win behind. Some big matchups this weekend that will decide final seeding. Vancouver College plays Mount Doug, and New West plays South Delta. Here are the scores from this past weekend from the Pacific Conference. Handsworth and Abbotsford both win to remain undefeated in conference play. That will set up the game this weekend. Abbotsford playing Handsworth for first place in the Pacific Conference on the line. The TDBC AAA Top 5 movement in the Top 5. Terry Fox and New West remain at 1 and 2. Notre Dame jumps up to number 3. BC at 4, and South Delta gets the nod at the number 5 spot. AA Western Conference matchup. Bolaina scored on every drive to hand Hugh Boyd their first loss in conference play. Hugh Boyd held their own offensively, putting up 42 points, but the Whalers could not be stopped, putting up 68 points, the most in team history. The Whalers were led by grade 11 QB Ben Robinson, who got it done through the air and with his feet. And wideout Liviano Keneal helped out, hauling in several big catches throughout the game. Congrats to the Whalers. Here's a look at the rest of the scores from the AA West. Windsor gets the W over John Barsby, 41-26, and Seaquam rolls over Nanaimo, 55-10. Here's a look at the standings with 1 game to play. Seaquam, Hugh Boyd, Bolanis all have 4 wins. Bolanis will have the week off. Hugh Boyd will play Barsby, and Seaquam is set to play Frank Hurt. The scores from the Eastern Conference. Holy Cross beats Argyle 26-7. GW shuts out Salmon Arm 46-0. And Bateman gets the W over Langley 28-18. Now to the standings. GW holding on to the number 1 seed with a 4-0 record, with Holy Cross and Argyle 1 game behind. The big matchup this weekend in the East is GW hosting Argyle. To the Okanagan Conference, Vernon stays undefeated in conference play, beating Westside, and C. Fulton beats South Kamloops in an OT thriller, 31-28. Vernon holding on to the number 1 spot, with C. Fulton in second and South Kamloops in third. Now to the north, Dutchess Park beats College Heights 38-24. To the standings, Dutchess Park in first, NVSS in second. They will play a big game this weekend against each other. Should be a great one. BC High School Game of the Week is the historic Archbishop's Cup. Notre Dame versus Vancouver College, with major playoff implications on the line. The game is this Friday at Burnaby Lakes. Kickoff at 7:30. This game will be streamed live at sportscanada.tv.
Time now for the BC High School Report with Dino Jeremia. Dino is back with us in studio today. Dino, how was your trip?
It was great. Awesome, beautiful part of the world up in Bella Bella and on the West Coast. Just truly remote, and some of the people are just amazing. So.
Well, that's great. Great to hear. And now, Dino, let's get right into the football from this past weekend. You know, they're going into this weekend. There's only 2 conference games left. A big game we saw was STM taking on Mount Bougere. You could say Mount Bougere was the favorites. STM has won 2 games in a row, and now they get their big back, Tyler Eckert, and he scores a bunch of touchdowns, and STM wins that 44-0.
Yeah, I mean, we, with Notre Dame, played St. Thomas More first game of the year, and Tyler was in that game, played outstanding, and I immediately thought, wow, this team is pretty tough. They're physical. Unfortunately, he got hurt, and they took a little bit of a downspin, but with him healthy, look out for them.
Yeah, and if you look at their, they've lost the first 3 conference games, and now they've won the last 3 conference games. It has to be the right time to be clicking going into the last couple games of the season.
Yeah, I think we're going to see that, if you have a player and he makes a difference, then you go from average to being a great team. And that's the case that St. Thomas More. I mean, we're seeing Mount Doug having some struggles without Kremler at quarterback. We've Notre Dame without our quarterback stumbled a little bit. So you can have a player that makes all the difference, especially as we go into the playoffs here. Getting healthy is going to be a key to success.
Yeah, no, as you mentioned, Kremler, Mount Doug, without Kremler, lost to South Delta 36-13. How much is that injury, or how much is that, we've talked about it, the West just being that good? All 4 or 5 of those top teams can beat anyone on any given day.
Yeah, well, I mean, South Delta is another good example. Grant McDonald, outstanding player. He's back healthy. He missed 3-4 games in there where South Delta was taking a little bit of a downspin. So now he's healthy. They're very strong. So if everybody's healthy in that West Conference, it's going to be a dogfight.
And now it brings us to the last week of conference play. Notre Dame versus Vancouver College. I think it's the 60th Archbishop's Cup this weekend. What can we expect in that one? Notre Dame, if they win, could clinch first place in the West. I don't know exactly when the last time Notre Dame won the West, but this could be huge for your program.
Yeah, I think it's that time of year where everything takes a little bit more focus. As I said, teams need to be healthy. But I expect an outstanding football game. Vancouver College, well coached, well balanced, strong on offense, strong on defense, strong across the line. They're as good as anybody that we have faced, or as good as anybody in the province. And just looking forward to a great football game. I think that if people are a fan of high school football, this is a game to see.
And now, we've talked about both these teams, Abbotsford and Handsworth, a lot, both separately. Now they're playing against each other. They've both won every game in the conference, and now they play each other for first place. Is this a measuring stick game for both teams? Like, Abbotsford has been very good against Pacific. Handsworth has been rolling along in the Pacific, and now the top 2 teams face. Is this one that you're going to want, it's a good test before both these teams get into the playoffs and play some upper echelon of teams?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. They want to start playing some better competition because they're going to have to cross over into the West Division or play somebody like Fox or Mount Boucherie. So they need to see where they're at, and it's no better than testing within your own conference. I'm looking forward to seeing Handsworth's offense. With Coach Jay Prepchuk. He's always got some creativity on his offense. He's able to coach well, call a good game. So I think it's going to come down to that and how well Abbotsford can play on defense.
And now to the AA, it seems like an undefeated team's losing each week. It's really hard to predict what's going on in the AA. Belenis beats Hugh Boyd, who was undefeated up to that point. Belenis, obviously always a great program, but they put up 68 over Hugh Boyd.
Yeah, I mean, Belenis has some weapons. We've seen them play well, and then I think they had some injuries that they had to overcome. So they're hitting a stride. Obviously, when you put up that many points, you're doing something right on offense. Coach Dan Smith, old quarterback, experienced at UBC, and he's got those guys playing for him, and they're going to be tough to beat.
Well, thanks, Dino. We'll talk to you again next week for a little playoff preview. That's the BC High School Report with Dino Jeremia.
Well, Freaky Friday was live, and it was another week of community football in the books. Now let's get into the action.
Over to Junior Bantam we go with Meadow Ridge taking on Chilliwack, and hot out of the gates is Gavin Whittingham, who cuts out left and drops the boom on a red defender to go up early on. Meadow Ridge goes back to work, and this would be a reoccurring theme in this one. Cale Cowley tosses it out wide to Whittingham. Once again, he's got the wheels pumping. Gavin scampers in untouched. Knights get the ball back, and this, folks, is the definition of hard work. Nico Zolker gets the ball to the backfield. Looks like he's done for after getting past 4 defenders, but he keeps pushing those legs and refuses to give up. He gets out of the pile and fights his way down to the 3-yard line. Great work, Nico. Very next play, Nico picks up where he left off and finishes what he started, Meadow Ridge cruising. But they weren't done there. This time it's Riley Rooning getting in on the action, and this guy's no slouch either. After breaking a couple tackles, he pulls the open field spin move and the high leg kick like he's right out of a video game. Knights ball once again, and this time it's back to the original workhorse, Gavin Whittingham. He uses that blazing speed up the right sidelines to go all the way. Meadow Ridge wins big 54-0. Now here are the scores from Junior Bantam. North Delta beat their south-sided foes 10-0. Langley capitalized 26-24 over North Surrey Eagles. And Coquitlam had their way with North Surrey Falcons 45-8. The Battle of Chilliwack is underway with Chili Blue taking on Chili Red. From the onset, Kenyon Reed gets the carry, and this guy's got moves on top of moves. He uses speed to dance by the Red defenders and even one of his own teammates, but it'll be Reed setting the tone for Blue with a big score. Blue with the ball once again, and in true Halloween fashion, they whip out the trickery. Vincent Brunauer handing it to reversing Chloe Dades, who turns on the turbo switch and gets a treat of her own, a touchdown. Blue back at it. This time Lucas Fever gets a chance to show off his cannon of an arm, and he's got pinpoint accuracy too. Fever finds Tyler Kelly, who eludes a couple defensive backs, and he too would be off to the races, adding another TD to his resume. Chilliwack Blue still grinding away on offense. This time it's Vincent Brunauer's chance to shine on his own, and he's deceptively fast as well. I tell ya, I wouldn't want to be the last defender to try to take him down. Lucas Fever with the ball as he puts that powerful arm to use once again, this time finding big number 88 Aiden Parks, and he finds his way to the promised land too. But perhaps the slickest run of the day belongs to Pearson Capstick. Capstick bursts through the hole at full speed and makes 4 seamless midfield cuts and makes the Red defenders look like pylons. Chilliwack Blue win big 49-0. And now a quick look at the scores from Pee Wee. Coquitlam Wolverines blank North Delta 7-0. North Surrey Hawks shut out the Coquitlam Wildcats 33-0. South Delta tops Richmond 38-8. And Langley pops the Cloverdale Bears 42-0. Take a look at the scores from this past weekend in Midget. Langley topped North Langley in a hard-fought 7-6 victory. North Surrey shellacked Vancouver 28-0. And Victoria said, "Smell you later" to Coquitlam 47-0. Here are the scores from Bantam, and this sheet has more donuts than a bakery. North Langley barely edges out South Delta 45-0. Meadow Ridge squeaks out a win against North Delta 36-0. And North Surrey wins a nail-biter 50-0 over the Valley. Over to the Bantam standings now. The Tigers and Bears are having epic seasons, both starting off at 8-0. And the Rams aren't too far behind them at 6-2. The Knights sit 3 games back of 3rd place, while the Mustangs, Longhorns, and Valley Thunder need to pick up their socks down the stretch.
Well, that about does it for us this week at Touchdown BC. Adam, the Thunderbirds lost, but the magic might not have dried up yet.
No, it's not. You know, they're going to be in the playoffs this weekend against Regina, a team that has had a really good season, but the T-Birds are reigning Vanier Cup champs. They've been there before, so if they keep on winning, it could be another Cinderella story for the T-Birds. And also this weekend, high school ends their conference playing games, so next week we'll know how the playoffs are going to shape up. But until next week, thanks for watching, and we'll see you again.
Touchdown BC is sponsored by
The Robertson Braun Group, Remax Kelowna. Thinking real estate in Kelowna? Think Blake Robertson, Marlene Braun. For more information, call 250-212-2888 or 250-878-5242.
Touchdown BC is also sponsored by Subway and the Subway Bowl. The Subway Bowl hosts and supports the BC High School Football Championships and amateur football around the province.